Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about Wirestock.io, and we're going to go over what I'm calling the good, the bad, and the ugly aspects of using Wirestock's platform to help you sell your images, your videos, and your vectors. My hope is that this video will give you a little bit more insight as to how best you can use Wirestock. This is part of my series on Wirestock, which is a stock photo and video submission tool, as well as a platform that allows you to sell your stock photography, video, and vector file assets, as well as prints. So if you haven't heard of Wirestock and have no idea what I'm talking about, then I definitely recommend that you pause this video and go check out my Wirestock overview video, and then you can come back and finish this up. So if you're new here, I'm Joel. I'm a filmmaker and photographer, and in this channel, I basically talk about photography, film, and of course some of my travel videos as well. So subscribe if you find any of that interesting. And of course, give the video a like to let me know what kind of content you want to see. All right, now, to start off, I actually signed up with Wirestock in 2021, but I really didn't start uploading a whole lot until I think it was maybe July of 2021, just a few months later. Since then, Wirestock has made some improvements to their platform as well as their submission process. They've even added portfolios for creators and the ability to sell prints from your portfolio as well. Now, I don't work for Wirestock, but I do use them. And if after watching this video, you're interested in using them as well, well, then I'd ask you to use my referral link in the description. I do get a small commission from that, but it comes out of their 15% fee and doesn't affect your earnings at all. All right, so let's get into this. First off, I want to talk about what I consider the good aspects of Wirestock. So the first thing I like about Wirestock, and by the way, none of these are in any particular order, so don't be beholden to that, but I like the fact that it is free and easy to sign up. They do take a 15% commission on any sales that you have through any of their distribution partners, like Adobe Stock or Shutterstock, Dreamtime, things like that. And of course, a 30% commission on anything that's actually sold on their own platform itself. The second thing I like about Wirestock is that there's no need to set up accounts at all of these different stock agencies. It's especially great for anybody that's new to stock photography or who are just looking to for a way to maybe streamline their workflow. Number 3 is that you get to actually upload to 6 different stock agencies: Shutterstock, Adobe Stock, Dreamtime, Pond5, and Deposit Photos. Number 4, Wirestock gives you a portfolio page where all of your assets, videos, images, vectors, all that can be linked to directly. So this kind of makes your Wirestock portfolio sort of like a 7th stock agency, because it's a site where all of your assets can essentially be purchased directly off the platform. Number 5 is that Wirestock actually kind of is a one-stop shop for all different kinds of assets. So basically, Wirestock is similar to like what Black Box Global is, or more specifically kind of what it does by distributing content to everything as an aggregator, except it doesn't have the community aspect of it, and there's not really a way to share revenue with other contributors either. But with Wirestock, you also get images and vectors as well, whereas like with something like Black Box, it's just video only. Plus with Wirestock, they actually take care of titling, keywording, and descriptions for you, whereas with like Blackstock, you have to handle that all yourself or get someone else that can help take care of those for you and share a commission with them. But with Wirestock, all of that's actually built into the 15% commission or fee that they take. Number 6 is the fact that they make it really easy to both upload model releases and attach them to your images or videos when you are submitting them. So any release you make is actually stored so that you can easily just reattach it to each of your different files. Also, the releases are good with all of the different agencies that Wirestock contributes to. So it's like a kind of a one place, one release, makes it really easy. Now, speaking of easy, number 7 is the fact that they actually make it really easy to upload your files. Now, you can upload content from both your web browser by just drag and dropping, or you can also upload via Google Drive or even like Dropbox. Additionally, they have an option for FTP, if you guys are familiar with that. If you know what I'm talking about, then they have that option. And you can also upload via the iOS app. Now, speaking of iOS apps, number 8 is the fact that they do have a mobile app that allows you to both upload photos and videos, as well as sign model releases, manage them, and have a limited dashboard as well. So number 9 is the fact that Wirestock can read and automatically populate any kind of metadata that you have in your files already, like keywords or titles and descriptions. So I found that in most cases, Wirestock's systems, reviewers, whatever you want to call them, are able to actually utilize the bulk of what you put in there. And usually they seem to like add a little bit more or even correct it. In the case of one of my pictures of a castle in Ireland, I actually called it the wrong kind of castle and they actually corrected that. So that was a really nice thing that I noticed that they're able to do, and they even added some new keywords to it as well. And number 10 actually corresponds to that in the fact that they do have an easy submission, which is really cool because it means that you can, instead of just filling out every aspect of your submission, whether it be commercial or editorial, like titles, descriptions, and keywords, or in the case of editorial, filling in more specific information like even categories, the date, the city, things like that. They have what's called an easy submission, and the easy submission lets you put in a much more limited amount of information, and then you can simply add some comments in the area for the reviewer, and they take care of the rest of it for you. Number 11 is the fact that you can earn higher royalties on tiered commission sites like Shutterstock, Deposit Photo, or Alamy. This is because of the large portfolios that Wirestock has on these other tiered commission agencies, essentially getting enough downloads that bumps them up into these higher commission rates much quicker. So this is really good for contributors like myself who might take forever to get into a higher tier because my downloads are just so low, which means I'm making less commission. Getting into that higher commission allows me to make more money each time, maybe 35% commission instead of 15%, which can easily offset that 15% commission that Wirestock does take, allowing you to actually make a little bit more money on your royalties versus if you were just to submit directly yourself. So when I asked Wirestock about their commission rates that they get on all the different agencies, they basically told me that, for instance, in 2021, they were averaging between 25 and 50% commission rate depending on those agencies. So number 12 is, kind of going along with the same thing here, is that it means you'll earn money sooner. So instead of taking 6 months to get from a tier 1 to say like a tier 3 or maybe even a tier 4 on a site like Shutterstock, Wirestock, because of its size and the number of downloads it receives, is able to go from tier 1 to tier 3 or tier 4 in a really, really short time, allowing you to make even more money on any sales you get from the beginning of the year instead of only the last part of the year. So as an example, with Shutterstock, at level 1, you have less than 100 downloads and you're making 15%. Whereas to reach level 4, you need 251 downloads and you make a 35%. That's essentially making an extra 20% commission just by submitting through Wirestock instead of submitting on your own. So in that case, you can almost make 20% more commission on every single sale you get, starting almost at the beginning of the year, or much earlier in the year than you would if you were to submit on your own. Number 13 is the fact that you can easily choose between which agencies or even which of their separate Wirestock programs that you would like to submit to. And an added bonus is the fact that you can even opt in to an agency that maybe you didn't submit to originally at a later date. And number 14 is probably the one that everyone likes the most, is that's the fact that you can actually get paid sooner. Now by sooner, I'm talking about money in your bank account, not just in your account on each agency. Now, this is especially good for sites like Deposit Photos or Dreamstime, where you might not get a whole lot of sales. I know I'm like that. I have only a handful of sales on Dreamstime, which makes it even worse because with Dreamstime, the threshold's $100 that I have to earn before I can even deposit my earnings into my own bank account. Where with Wirestock, you don't have to worry about that. Your $30 threshold covers all of that. So if you have just a few sales at Deposit Photos, they already have enough sales to make that threshold, and so you can already get your deposit, your earnings essentially, now instead of later. So now let's go over what I consider the bad aspects of Wirestock. And this is of course as of the time of this filming, which is in March of 2022. So first off, again, in no particular order, there's no notification system to indicate whenever you have an image or a video or a vector and whether it's been accepted or rejected when you submit it to Wirestock. So this also goes for status of some of the files that you have already had accepted on Wirestock itself and have been submitted to some of the other individual stock sites. The second thing I don't like is the fact that there's no way for you to sort any of your images, videos, or vectors based on whether or not it's been accepted or rejected by any of the individual stock agencies. So you kind of have to manually click on each specific image or video in order to see like which ones they've been, if it's even been processed, and then whether it's been submitted to them or even accepted. The third thing I think is kind of bad is the fact that any content that you submit through Wirestock is going to end up being under Wirestock's account on each of those different agencies. So this means that your images won't have your personal branding on any of those partner sites like Shutterstock or Adobe Stock. It's basically just going to say like Wirestock Creators is going to be the portfolio instead of, like your name. Now, honestly, this is probably not a really big concern for most people. Honestly, it's not a really big concern for me. Number 4, what is a concern though, is that with all the assets under Wirestock's branding means that you will not receive any kind of photo credit under the image if it's used on, say, like CNN.com or anything like that. So anything that's been licensed, you're not going to see that. Instead, you're just going to see a credit line that just says Wirestock Creators or whatever. So the fact that you don't have that or even shared credit could be a concern maybe for certain stock contributors, maybe editorial photographers who rely way more on their personal branding or name recognition in order to continue to get more work. Number 5 has to do with Adobe Stock. Now, since your images are under Wirestock's account with Adobe, any downloads that you get, whether the video, vectors, or image files, they don't count towards Adobe Stock's bonus program. So if you didn't know, Adobe Stock does have a bonus program that allows you to earn free subscriptions towards some of the Creative Suite apps like Premiere, Photoshop, or Illustrator. So number 6 has to do with Pond 5, and it has to do with the pricing that Wirestock is setting for video assets specifically. When I looked at it, it looks like especially 4K video assets are priced a little on the low side. So when I did a search on Wirestock's portfolio on Pond 5, I found videos ranging from $25 to $60 for HD files, and I found $28 to $56 for 4K files. That is really low for a 4K video and means maybe we're losing out on some earnings there potentially. Now, number 7 is the Instant Pay program. So this is not one of my favorites. You may have seen my video I did about the Instant Pay program, but anyway, to talk about that, the reason it isn't is because what Wirestock does right now is they currently partners with Adobe Stock, Shutterstock, and FreePix. So the biggest thing I have with the Instant Pay program, the biggest problem that is the fact that there's no way of knowing which sites your images will be offered to, or even the length of time that your images will be offered there. So what that means is that you end up risking having some of your image licensed to a site like FreePix, which will eventually basically just disincentivizes the ability for your, or potential rather, for your sales on any of your other sites that you have, because someone can just go to FreePix, get the image for free and never have to do anything, don't have to give you no attribution or anything, and just use it forever. So in my opinion, that's not a really good idea if you're trying to use Wirestock or even stock photography as a way to earn, lasting income, passive income, or what have you. Number 8 also has to do with the Instant Pay program. And basically what it is the fact that there's no option for you to choose who you want to partner with on the Instant Pay program. So for instance, you can't choose whether you want to submit your images just to Adobe Stock or Shutterstock or FreePix, or in this case, exclude FreePix from those offerings. I mean, I'm personally okay with maybe a site like Adobe Stock where they do like a 1-year term with the images. So you're not like locking up your files for too long. But I do draw the line on something like free picks, where you're basically just giving your images away forever. And in this case, you'll at least earn a little bit for it, but I don't know if it's enough to warrant, a potential sale down the road. So number 9 has to do with the Wirestock portfolio and the fact that there's not really any analytics that allow you to see how many visitors you've had, which images or videos or anything like that have been looked at either. And number 10 is the fact that all aggregation sites, whether they be Wirestock or Blackbox Global or anything like that, are at risk to having their accounts disabled on different individual stock agencies. Now, this happened with Blackbox Global at the end of December of 2020. So what happened was that Blackbox Guild's account was actually completely disabled and all of the files removed on Shutterstock because someone had submitted a DCMA takedown request due to some of its members having uploaded basically a bunch of stolen files. And that was 900,000 videos that were taken down. Now, they were reinstated, but it did take, I think it was like 4 to 6 weeks for the majority of those files to get reinstated. So now I want to talk about the ugly aspects of Wirestock, but what I'm really saying here is I think areas that are good, but they just need more improvement upon. So my number 1 is the fact that I feel like I'd love to see even more additional stock agencies as partners with Wirestock so that I can contribute to them. Sites like iStock Getty, Big Stock, 500px, CanStock, or even some video ones like Storyblocks or Vimeo Stock. The second biggest problem I have is the fact that some of the reviewing time is kind of inconsistent. Sometimes you upload an image and it doesn't get reviewed for 2-3 weeks or even longer. And then other times it gets reviewed within a week. So I kind of feel like they need to improve that. And to add to that, once assets are approved on Wirestock and then they're submitted onto the additional agencies, sometimes the processing time that you see can also be quite inconsistent, from nearly instantaneous to even months that you're waiting for those files to be processed by the individual agencies, whether it be Adobe Stock or Dreamstime or what have you. The number 4, as far as like the ugly stuff, is some of the automated descriptions, keywords, and titles that are created for you can be a little bit off, or maybe not optimal. I mean, it does a pretty good job, but they use a combination of AI and also like real live reviewers to help with these things. But a lot of times the reviewers are in different parts of the world and may not have the same command of the English language, or even, what keywords and things like work the best for those different stock sites. I highly recommend adding as much information as you can when you do upload. I know it kind of takes a little bit away from the whole like easy submission idea where you just like upload it and let it go, which you can totally do, but I found that when I do that, it takes much longer for those images to actually get approved and then processed. Number 5 is the fact that there's not really any direct way that you can edit descriptions or keywords after you've submitted or even after it's been reviewed. Like I talked about, if you notice something was a little bit off, there's not really much you can do about it, or at least not directly. You can contact their customer service, like send them an email, give them the file number and say, hey, this description should be this instead of this. And then they tell me at least that they can fix it for you. But that's kind of a time-consuming process. So number 6 is the fact that there's not really any way that you can sort your assets into sets or even catalogs, both on the back end when you're trying to submit things, or even on your own portfolio page. So I think it can make it a little bit more difficult to organize your files prior to submission, at least for me it is. And then also, it would make it a lot easier on your portfolio if, look not only cleaner, but also easier for customers to find the files that they're looking for, if they're grouped by collections or even sets. Number 7 is the fact that they still have not implemented the ability for you to set your own prices on your Wirestock portfolio page. And I'm talking about is for your print prices as well as any of your direct sales of your assets or videos or things like that. So I did reach out to Wirestock and they told me that you can expect to see the prices implemented by the beginning of summer of 2022. Number 8 is the fact that the dashboard is kind of slow to update stuff, specifically like sales. So if you have had a sale, it might take a few days or it might even take a few weeks or a month or more for it to actually show the sales that you had. Now this isn't like a deal breaker, it's just like, it's a little bit annoying though. And number 9, which is kind of carrying on that part about the dashboard, is that overall it is kind of buggy, especially on the desktop version. So for instance, like the total earnings section always seems to be off. It'll show you like your all-time stuff, it'll show you by the month, but sometimes if you try to click to weekly, it just doesn't give you any information at all. I'm hoping that they fix that soon. Also like badges for achievements and things like that, which are silly. I mean, I don't really care about the badges. But if you're gonna have the badges, like a little reward for your accomplishments, then I at least expect them to work because they definitely don't work on my account at all. And finally, on the iOS app, you're really, really limited as to what you can actually see from your dashboard. For instance, you can see photos and videos, but there's no vector files available for you to look at. There's also like no information about any kind of referral data. Like if you've referred somebody, you can't see that on the iOS either. Another thing to that is that earnings are also displayed without the ability to sort them for time, like month, week, or even like last 7 days. Instead, you're just getting this endless, like forever scroll, which really makes things difficult if you're especially if you have lots of sales of images or whatever, and you're trying to see what your last sale was. You have to scroll all the way to the very last one in order to find it, instead of having the ability to actually sort it by date or by month or anything like that. Number 10 has to do with print sales. The biggest problem I have with the print sales right now is the fact that there's only one option for prints, and that is on a Jacqueline print. And there's only a handful of framing options. Like right now, there's no paper options whatsoever. You can't have it printed on like a luster photo print, a metallic print. You can't do any kind of a canvas print. There's any kind of additional stuff either, like wood prints or acrylic or any of the more exotic stuff either. Now, that's kind of a bummer, especially for someone like me who comes from a big photography background as well. Like I used to have a business, and when I had my business, I would sell all sorts of things like that to my customers because that's what they love, especially for the fine art stuff. So if they're trying to like allow you to sell prints, I feel like they really need to open up the different types of prints so they can compete a little bit better with places like Fine Art America, where you have a huge plethora of printing options and you can set your prices or even choose which things you want to sell specifically so that it fits your brand and your fine art sensibilities. And so with number 11, it's along the same lines, is that we don't have a list of any of their printing partners. They do have printing partners worldwide, but they don't list anywhere like who they are or what regions they have. So again, it's not like a deal breaker, but it's definitely something that I would like to know because there can be differences of printing quality across different providers, all over the place.
Hey guys, real quick update. When I was editing this video, I did receive a message back from Wirestock's customer service about their print partners. It reads as follows. We are integrated with Prodigy, that is a global network of printing shops, and we optimize selection based on buyer location.
So overall, I know that Wirestock is continually updating and adding features, which is really, really appreciated. Now, some of the issues most likely don't have any solution, honestly. Like maybe the reporting nature of assets, especially when they're strewn across a whole bunch of different stock agencies. I feel like that's probably just one of the drawbacks that you have when you're dealing with an aggregator site like Wirestock. They are limited on what kind of data they can get, whether it be Dreams Time or deposit photos or whatever. Stock agencies only have certain information that they track, so you're gonna be limited on that. So hopefully they can get some of these kinks worked out, like maybe more accurate titles, descriptions, and even quicker processing times. So as you can see, I do feel like there's actually quite a few positive things about Wirestock, especially things that the majority of Wirestock's users can use and benefit from. Especially if they're new users, they're new to stock photography, or even if they've been doing a little bit of stock photography and they're trying to like level up a little bit, expand to like more stock agencies. Personally, I am using Wirestock and I still plan on continuing to use Wirestock here in the future to upload the bulk, especially the bulk of my back catalog. Hey, thanks again for watching this, and I hope this video helps you at least get a little bit more insight into Wirestock and maybe how you can use it for your own stock photography journey. I'd love to hear your experiences, maybe any tips that you might have, or even any other questions you have in the comments below. Again, you can find more videos about Wirestock or even my stock photography journey on my channel and of course my website. And if after watching this video you want to try out Wirestock, feel free to use my referral link in the description below. Thank you guys again so much for watching this. Like, subscribe, all the rest of that stuff, and cheers.